In this lesson, we're going to discuss goal setting and time management. It's important to have a good understanding of goal setting and time management before we roll into the scheduling lesson. Both go hand in hand, are very important to your success, and in my opinion, are very similar in their execution as they apply to building a project. If goal setting is the road you will take to arrive at the end of your project, time management will be the vehicle that you drive to get there. This lesson will give you a solid understanding of goal setting and time management with a focus on how you will use it to schedule your projects. Let's begin with goal setting. While goal setting can play an important role in succeeding over the course of your lifetime, it will play a smaller role in supervising the construction of a project. Chances are, at least initially, that the duration of the projects you'll be supervising will be between 3 to 6 months or somewhere in that neighborhood. These types of projects will be comprised of a short-term goal with milestones in the form of a construction schedule, so these concepts are important to understand before we dig into scheduling in depth. Entire books and courses have been written on the topic of goal setting, and if the topic interests you, you should research further. But I'll give you the meat and potatoes right here. Goals should be written and clearly defined. If you want to accomplish something, it is important to understand what it is you're trying to achieve and have a well-organized path to get there. Writing it down helps you clarify the goal, identify the obstacles, and plan a direct linear path to success. The same is true of a construction master schedule. Goals need specific time limits. If you cannot define the time frame in which you would like to have your goal accomplished, you only have a wish or a dream. Wishes and dreams are great because they often lead to goals, but they are not goals until you set a time frame for achieving them. Time frames should be challenging in order to create a sense of urgency, but realistic enough to be achievable. Once you set a time limit on a goal and adjust for tasks or milestones, do not change it until the day after the time limit expires. Always fight to complete on time and do not acknowledge that you will not succeed until the deadline passes. This will keep you moving forward with urgency and will provide the absolute best progress possible. This last concept will be directly applicable to your construction schedule. Many times over the years, you'll be looking at a schedule that you're going to overrun, but you cannot acknowledge defeat until the day you overshoot it. There are plenty of tactics you can employ to bring a schedule back into alignment. So you always need to fight right up to the last minute to complete it on time. If your goal is large or particularly challenging, you need to break it into milestones or specific tasks. These milestones or tasks are nothing more than smaller goals that, when completed in sequence, add up to the primary goal. This is very much the same way you'll build your master schedule for your project. In that case, the primary goal would be the entire project. Like the primary goal, these milestones or tasks need specific time frames. It is important that the total time frame for these milestones or tasks does not exceed the deadline for the goal, or the goal time frame needs to be adjusted to meet them. In the case of a schedule, if you have a hard completion date, you would most likely adjust the duration of your tasks or milestones by adjusting your manpower. The more people you have working on the task, the shorter the duration will be. However, at some point it becomes counterproductive to add more manpower, and you either need to accept the duration or look for other methods to shorten the duration. For example, another way you could shorten duration would be to prefabricate portions of the task in the shop and deliver pre-assembled chunks to the job site to expedite the installation. Goals need to be prioritized. If you divide your attention across too many goals or focus on them in the wrong sequence, your effectiveness will be greatly reduced. Start by making a list of goals that you would like to accomplish. Once you have a complete list, look it over and decide which goals are the most important or beneficial to you. Place your list in this order, with the most important listed first and the least important listed last. Set a time limit for completing the most important goal, and then create a list of tasks that will need to be completed in order to accomplish the first goal. Prioritize these tasks and then go through them and set time limits for each one, being careful to stay within the time frame for the goal, or go back and refine the time frame for the goal to match the time required to accomplish the task if necessary. In the case of a project schedule, you'll assemble your task list in the order you intend to build the project. Get started. Don't wait until Monday. Don't wait until you finish painting the house. Don't wait until the office is organized just right or the business cards are printed. Start right away. There will never be a perfect time to begin, and the day you lose today is going to be the extra day you will need when your deadline arrives. This is particularly important when managing a project. You don't want to start too early and waste precious hours by being inefficient, but the sooner you can start, the more time you will have to complete before the end date. The hours and days you can efficiently capture in the beginning are the hours that will save your butt at the end of the project. Work on something towards achieving your goal every day. I call this walking the goal down. When you begin working towards a goal, the end date seems far away and sometimes unachievable. Do not focus on the end. Focus on the one item that you need to complete today. Day by day, you'll inch towards success, and one day you'll wake up with that end date in sight. This is also how you'll approach your project. Sometimes, depending on the size of the project, it can be a little overwhelming. By focusing just on the immediate task that needs to be completed, you can consume the project bit by bit, and before you know it, you're staring at your completion date. You may not know how you're going to complete the entire project, but as long as you know how to complete the next task, you'll still get there. Although your task list is prioritized, do not hesitate to work out of order if necessary. In other words, if you're waiting on someone else to produce some items for you before you can continue on with the most important task, jump to the next task in order and keep going. When the items for the previous task arrive, jump back and complete that task before moving forward again. This is why we build 2-week rolling schedules for each crew member. Once they know what they'll be doing for the next 2 weeks, if they have a delay on a task, they already know what to work on next, and they don't need to come interrupt you and ask what to do next. Training them to do this will make your day a lot less hectic and a lot more productive. Be flexible. Understand that goals never come together in reality exactly like they do in your mind's eye. Be prepared to adjust the goal to meet the demands of reality. Many times, this will make your goal better and more beneficial. Sometimes the accomplishment of the goal will depend on it. There's no sense in completing a goal exactly as you imagined it if doing so will not produce the desired results or benefits. Be flexible and adjust as necessary, keeping the ultimate result or benefit in mind. There is an entire industry out there that is fighting to help you manage your time. There are endless varieties of daily planners, books, courses on time management, ways to study your time use, and speakers ready to tell you how to manage your time efficiently. While I believe and agree that it is important to use time wisely, I also believe that you can spend so much time managing your time that you will not have time for anything else. Personally, I prefer to focus more on accomplishing tasks than managing time. Since each task has a time limit, earnestly focusing on completing the tasks necessary for the goal forces efficient time management. It's hard for you or your crew to be inefficient if you're completing goals on time. In order to be as efficient as possible, always focus your attention on getting material installed. Since building a project is comprised of installing the material that builds the electrical system, the more time that is spent directly related to installing material, the more efficient you'll be at achieving your goal of completion. As I mentioned in the previous lesson, contained within the estimate that you're racing against is the time to make material lists, the time to attend meetings, the time to move material around, the time to use the restroom, the time to repair a broken tool, the time to speak to suppliers and manufacturers about material deliveries and installation methods, the time to question architects and engineers, and a whole lot more. But you only get paid for material that gets installed. That means, as a foreman, the more material you get installed, the more profitable you'll be. The primary focus of your energy must be directed towards getting material installed. I worked as a lead electrician for a foreman in my youth who was very successful. He was actually the top dog in a company of about 400 electricians, and he used to scribble on everything. It used to drive me nuts. I would walk up to him with a set of drawings to ask him for clarification on something, and he would start scribbling. He'd draw lines and pictures, write words and make lists. Then he would cross half of it out and write some more. It would absolutely freak me out because I was very careful to update my plans to record the actual installation to update as-built drawings with. I was very careful to keep my plans neat and organized, and he would absolutely trash them. When I started focusing on time management, it fed this obsession. When I made a to-do list in my daily planner, I had to make sure I wrote it in the correct order the first time. It was horrifying if I had to cross something out and rewrite it. Everything had to be perfect, and the primary focus of my day became writing neatly and accurately in my daily planner. What's that got to do with installing material? You know the answer. Nothing. Everyone is different, and if a daily planner makes your life better, more productive, and more profitable, then by all means use one. Personally, I'm content to write in a notepad. I scribble, write, make lists, tear out pages, and throw them away. I found this to be very liberating. I actually use more than one. I use one for regular meetings with the customer, one for special meetings, one for material lists, conversations with suppliers and other parties associated with the project, and to-do lists. I also carry a small one with me around the site for notes on the fly, or use my smartphone. Many years ago, I read an important tip in a book, and it became my entire time management system. I've read a lot of books in my day, so forgive me if I get this wrong, but I believe the book I learned this from was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. As I recall it, Andrew Carnegie gave him advice for success, and here it is. Every day, make a to-do list. Prioritize it in order of importance. Work on the most important task first, and do not work on anything else until that one item is complete. Then work on the next important task. This has never failed me. It will keep you focused on what is important and keep you moving toward success. It is easy within the chaos of a job site to become overwhelmed by the volume of work that needs to be completed. Identifying the most important task and focusing on it will focus efficiency. If it is a large or complex project, you may actually need to identify and focus on the top 3 or 4 most important tasks. The point is, prioritize and work on what is important. The only thing I would add is that if you are halted for any reason on completing the most important task, work on the second most important until progress can be resumed on the most important. In other words, just because you're held up on one task, that should not halt progress entirely. Prioritizing should eventually become automatic for you. It's that important. Every list you make, whether a material list or a to-do list, should be ordered and focused on in order of importance. If you will do this one thing, I promise you that time management will take care of itself. However, you need to be able to prioritize properly, and that means understanding the difference between important and urgent. Again, I've read a boatload in my day, and I'd like to give credit where credit is due, but I've established my own methods based on a conglomeration of other people's ideas that worked for me. I believe this particular concept may have come to me from Brian Tracy. The point is that urgent is not always important. For example, one of your subcontractors may be pressuring you daily to complete the work necessary in order for them to get on site and begin their work. But efficiency might dictate that you focus in other areas of the project first. Subcontractors are always anxious to get on site and start billing you for work. In this case, your profitability is more important than their urgency to get on site and begin their work. Always stop to decide if your top priority is important or urgent. In this example, important means that it is the best use of your time in order to complete on time and create a profitable project. As you continue to focus on this concept, you'll begin to recognize the difference more easily. Important is profitable. Urgent might not be profitable. We'll revisit all of these concepts when we get to our discussion on scheduling. Nowhere is time management and goal setting more important than when you are building a schedule for your project. Creating a master schedule is no different than mapping out a long-term goal. 2-week rolling schedules, as they unfold week after week, become your to-do list that you check off as you complete task after task on the way to your completion. There's plenty of free information on goal setting and time management on the internet, and I encourage you to do some research on your own. Just be careful not to get so caught up in it that it starts robbing you of time instead of contributing to your number one priority, which is installing material. It's great to be organized, but when organization gets in the way of installing material, I'd give that some serious thought. For me, a good master schedule, detailed rolling schedules, a notepad, and a prioritized to-do list is fast, efficient, and profitable. Don't let yourself get caught up in some elaborate system that makes you feel good but trashes your efficiency. Don't forget to download your action list below, and I'll see you in the next lesson.